and welcome into Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Lindsay Selzer.
And I'm Jacob Flores. We appreciate you joining us. In 1968, the Phoenix Suns became the first professional sports franchise in the Valley, and gradually the team gained popularity.
There is one year in particular that was pivotal to the team's success. Cronkite Sports reporter Ryan Meza takes us back to that historic season in the making of the iconic Sunburst jersey.
30 years ago, the Phoenix Suns took the Valley by storm. With the new arena, a new star player,
Off to Savanos, back to Barkley. Barkley goes in for the jam.
and a new coach. But there is one thing from that 1992-93 season that caught eyes across the nation. That classic Sunburst jersey.
One of the things that Jerry Colangelo wanted to do was to make sure that as we entered into this new, modern, wonderful facility, that we would also have an updated look to our uniforms and logo. So he put me in charge of that aspect of it.
It was time. It was just time for us, and what better time when you are opening up the newest, latest state-of-the-art facility in the country, which was America West Arena.
Maybe Kevin was like in June of '91. I flew out to Phoenix to meet with Jerry Colangelo, the owner of the Sun, along with Tom Ambrose, who I loved as a guy to work with, and another guy named Rich Dozier, and one more guy named Ray Artigue. And it was like the four of us, plus myself and Kevin, and one or two people from our creative services division. And we went at it.
As the design process began, the Suns were looking to create a modern jersey to match a new modern arena. It was a delicate balance of staying true to the franchise's original colors of purple and orange that reflected the Arizona sunsets. Yet they were moving away from a Western look that no longer suited a team ready to step into a new era and spark some life into downtown Phoenix.
I wanted to be consistent with who we were and what we had done in the past, and this was, in my opinion, an upgrade, and it was taking a little bit of a positive change.
He said, I want to be a modern looking franchise. And he said, I really want to do this for the next 25 years. So whatever you will come up with, I want it to feel fairly fresh and new for the next quarter century, which ain't easy. Kevin and I started sketching away. Kevin's sketches were great because the colors that he was using were so robust. They were bold, they were bright. Those were like gorgeous sketches, and I think part of that, people love this design. Like, that is really cool, so it's like a modern version of it.
Some of those early sketches, I remember presenting you concepts where the sun was descending, and we were talking about this, and I'm like, yeah, I got this idea, like the sun's descending, like, toward the basket or something like that.
But Colangelo made sure the Sunburst was on the rise to reflect an organization moving forward and upward. And with that creative adjustment, the Suns owner was set on the new look.
We thought it was a great looking uniform, and the logo came across big time. At the time, I thought it was the best logo in sports.
The Rising Sunburst then became the new logo. However, the apparel brand Champion had some difficulties getting such a big graphic on the jersey.
Champion or somebody come to us and say, we can't sew that sun onto the front of the uniform. It's going to weigh too much. But in that era, you started seeing like cyclists, right? And giant slalom skiers starting to wear these bodysuits, right? And that's when that dye sublimation technology was coming into place.
Since the jersey was mostly created through heat transmission, Champion suggested stitching on the names and numbers in order to give the jersey some value and more authenticity.
It's often a hard job, and you get through it and you're really not sure what you have until you see the first game. And I was just like staggered by how beautiful it looked when I first saw it. I was like, holy smokes.
There was some people that didn't love them, and they were mostly the older folks that had been around since 1968, and those were their uniforms.
I didn't like it. I didn't like that. I know everybody's so excited about it right now, and I grew to like the design and the jersey, but I was a ball boy for the team. I grew up with that Western font.
I think we had a notion that these would be iconic. I think we felt like they would always be something very special just because they were so different.
The response we had was big, was enormous, to all the Suns merchandise and all the things that had something to do with our logo and our brand and our look.
I'll be dead honest with you. I had no idea that anybody would give 25 years later.
And those 1992-93 Sunburst jerseys earned the respect and support of the Phoenix community by creating a space and team that will bring people from all over the valley together. In Phoenix, Ryan Meza, Cronkite Sports Report.
The Phoenix Suns have recreated those iconic Sunburst jerseys for the current NBA season to pay homage to that team in a series of 90s night games.
The next 90s night game will be on November 26th against the Utah Jazz. Coming up next on Cronkite Sports Report, a football player in Chandler was destined for the game thanks to his adoptive family.
Plus, the sounds of baseball at Chase Field and the man behind the music.
My heart is racing right now.
Fasten your seatbelt.
You're uncovering the truth.
These are consequential things. Yeah.
Oh, look at everybody.
I feel the presence of all these people.
I've got history.
No. I wish my mom could be here to see this.
Amazing. It's like the most vital stuff, right?
Tuesdays on Arizona PBS.
Hello, I'm Adrienne Farewell, and I'm proud to serve as General Manager of Arizona PBS. From Phoenix to the Grand Canyon, Flagstaff to Prescott, and everywhere in between, this station is the best way to remain connected to all that's going on in our beautiful state. So whether you're interested in arts, culture, and music, to local politics and education, we've got you covered. You're watching Arizona PBS, and your Arizona connection starts right here.
Welcome back to Cronkite Sports Report. At Arizona College Prep, a senior on the Knights football team has taken a unique route to where he is now.
Cronkite Sports reporter Ryan Blank heads to Chandler to trace the running back's journey.
Finding the end zone.
Baruch Stevens for the Knights, touchdown!
Is almost a family tradition for Baruch Stevens.
You know, it's something that I knew that I could bond with my brother and family, so it was one of those things where I kind of got thrown into it and then really started to embrace it.
The Arizona College Prep senior started playing football at the age of 6.
Baruch never really had a chance because we're just a football family. You know what I mean? I've grown up with football. Jeanette's grown up with football.
But Baruch wasn't always destined to grow up around the game. Considering his journey to playing under the Friday night lights began 8,900 miles away in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. Baruch was put up for adoption by his birth mother at the age of 5.
She wanted me to have a better future. She knew at that time she wouldn't really be able to provide the opportunities that I would have had in the U.S.
The Stevens, who had 2 naturally born children and 1 adopted daughter from China, were looking to adopt again. And in May of 2010, the couple traveled to Ethiopia to bring home their son.
Adoption was just never a plan B. It was just a when we were going to do it. It's just kind of our way of life. There's kids who need homes. We have a home and we have the room, so that's why we did it.
Though Baruch did not fully comprehend why his birth mother put him up for adoption, as time went on, he not only learned to understand why, but is grateful for his mother's decision.
It's one of those things where I'd be proud and I'd want to thank her because there have been so many opportunities that have arisen for my adoption, and I know that it was just a hard decision for her.
Baruch is thriving here in Arizona and is taking advantage of every opportunity that comes his way. When he was younger, he tried other sports, like soccer, but ultimately, he found his second home here, on the football field.
You always want to, coach the really good kids that do everything the right way, and he's one of those kids. His effort and leadership, you want to follow the kid.
We won the lottery with Baruch. I love all 4 of our kids, but he is the one I know I can count on. He's a constant. That's what I love and appreciate about him. I can't imagine our family without him.
When Baruch reflects on the road he has traveled, he draws strength from the obstacles he has overcome.
I know that it was a big journey. A lot of people couldn't necessarily relate to it, but it's something that I'm proud that I went through.
He's so positive and optimistic. When you bring that type of attitude, people want to be around you. He's one of my favorite kids and forever be one of my favorite kids when he leaves our program.
While his days as a Knight are numbered, Stevens looks forward to continuing his journey with football and beyond. In Chandler, Ryan Blank, Cronkite Sports Report.
To baseball now, where the Arizona Diamondbacks wrapped up their 24th season this fall. The franchise has seen many faces come and go over the years.
But there is one face that has remained the same. Cronkite sports reporter Michael Donahue sat down with the Diamondbacks' musical mascot.
When fans make their way in the Chase Field, the sound of organ music can be heard throughout the stadium. The source of that music sits high above left field in the sandlot. Bobby Freeman has been the organist for the Arizona Diamondbacks for 24 years. His musical journey started as a young kid growing up in Ohio.
I was a real little kid, like 2 years old. My parents took me to the roller skating rink in Cleveland, Ohio, and they had an organist that made the music. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. So we had a piano at home, and I used to pretend it was an organ.
And just like the players, number 88 had to wait in the minors before getting the call up to the big leagues.
I was in the minor league system with the Firebirds and loved it, and never ever dreamed that a Major League Baseball team was coming to Arizona. And then when it happened, it was absolutely a dream come true.
Even Freeman's co-workers understand how much of a staple he has become for the organization.
He is one of our greatest traditions. He's been with us since the very beginning. In fact, before we even had a team, Bobby would play down here and for the minor league teams and spring training and all that stuff. So Bobby is a fixture here at Chase Field, dating back to when it was Bank One Ballpark. And to have him be here as long as he has, I couldn't be any happier.
With 25 years approaching, Freeman said it's the fans that keep him motivated to come back for 81 games a year.
I'm out in the sandlot area in the upper deck in left field at Chase Field, and the fans sometimes are even waiting for me when I come here 45 minutes before the game to say hello, grab an autograph, grab a selfie.
Freeman played baseball in high school, and while his athletic career didn't work out the way he had hoped for, he says there is still one similarity between his two passions.
My baseball career and my musician career is exactly the same. When I played baseball, I sat on the bench most of the game, and I'm doing that professionally, sitting on the bench for the whole game.
Besides his music, Freeman provides hope that even a bench warmer can have a professional career. In Phoenix, Michael Donahue, Cronkite Sports Report.
Next season, the Diamondbacks will celebrate their 25th anniversary as a franchise.
That's right, Lindsay. The team hasn't announced their plans for how they will commemorate the anniversary, but they did tell our Michael Donahue that Bobby Freeman will be a part of the plans.
Coming up next on Cronkite Sports Report, a North Phoenix gym is helping people fight addiction through exercise.
Now streaming on the PBS app, the definitive collection of documentaries from award-winning filmmaker Ken Burns.
Hemingway, the man, is much more interesting than the myth.
It is a story that Americans have to reckon with.
He's got my job. I'm the champ.
Discover over 40 groundbreaking films that bring our history to life. Stream the Ken Burns collection now with Passport on the PBS app.
Hello, I'm Adrienne Farewell, General Manager of Arizona PBS. We've got so much going on here at the station.
I'm Catherine Anaya.
I'm Alberto Rios.
I'm Chef Mark Tarbell.
I'm Ted Simons.
We want everyone to know that their Arizona connection starts right here at Arizona PBS.
For over the past 60 years, Arizona PBS has told incredible stories of Arizona's distinctive people.
We got to start being more vulnerable with each other.
What I love most about being a Latina woman is the passion and drive that I feel.
Beautiful landscapes and treasured history.
We're doing something that benefits the community.
Good evening and welcome to Horizonte.
Welcome to Check Please, Arizona.
Welcome to the U.S. Senate debate.
The recipient of the Emmy is
Arizona PBS.
Welcome back to Cronkite Sports Report. The Arizona Department of Health estimates 5 people per day die of opioid overdoses in the state, making it a public health emergency.
A local Valley man is hoping to help change those numbers. Cronkite Sports reporter Adam Schwager visited an upstart nonprofit in North Phoenix, attempting to help aid addiction recovery through exercise.
In her free time, you can find Amber Guerreri here.
in this North Phoenix gym, working up a sweat and lifting weights in an effort to lift the burden of a lifetime spent addicted to drugs.
I started using meth at the age of 17, and I pretty much used for 12 years until I was 29.
The California native grew up with parents who also struggled with addiction. Guerreri came to Arizona after getting arrested and briefly incarcerated here.
I basically was in the cell, and I was like, I gotta make a decision, like, do I want this to be my life, or do I wanna change it?
Several years later, Guerreri is now one of the Barbell Saves Project's longest-standing patrons, attending over 200 classes since last August. The CrossFit gym, created specifically for those recovering from addiction, has become Guerreri's primary stress reliever.
I come to get me out of my head and get me, because I know when I leave this place, I'm gonna feel better than I did walking in.
Funded with grant money, the Barbell Saves Project is the brainchild of Rob Best, who suffered from an opioid addiction in his 20s. During his recovery, Best became obsessed with fitness and nutrition. This led him to start his own CrossFit gym that became the precursor to the Barbell Saves Project.
I love helping these guys in the house, like, eat better. I'm watching all these YouTube videos about exercise, about nutrition, and then it finally kind of hits me. I'm like, well, shoot, maybe I should make this a job.
Classes are free for anyone, but participants must be at least 48 hours sober. Each class begins with community time before running through an hour-long workout routine that can be adjusted to fit any level of fitness. 1, 2, 3. Community members who've completed at least 3 classes are gifted a pair of sneakers from No Bull, a CrossFit training apparel company that has partnered with the project.
I mean, being able to offer them a shoe like a No Bull is awesome. I mean, most of them will take the shoes off after the workout and try to return them to me, right? They're like, oh, I thought it was just to borrow their bowling shoes or something. Like, no, they're yours. You get to take them home with you.
While the shoes are a nice incentive, the project's value comes from the people within. The members and coaches relate to each other on a personal level.
All of our coaches here are either in recovery themselves or have lived life experience, so we can absolutely relate to what our members are going through and experiencing firsthand.
Tammy Saunders is one of the program's lead coaches, who used CrossFit to help turn around her life. She believes CrossFit is uniquely designed to help recoverees.
CrossFit is really based on community. Even though you show up and you might be afraid or you might be nervous, it's okay, we're all scared and we're all nervous.
For Guerreri, that community meant a lot this year. Earlier in her life, the death of her 10-year partner helped trigger her first relapse. This fall, when personal tragedy struck again, the gym was there for her.
This year I lost my dad 6 months ago, and my grandfather about a month ago, so this place really is the support system for me, and definitely helps keep me sober, especially during this last year's been rough. So I'm so happy that I found this place.
A place where people like Guerreri can aid their mental strength by testing their physical strength. A place that can heal the body to save the mind. In Phoenix, Adam Schwager, Cronkite Sports Report.
Still to come on Cronkite Sports Report, a former football player finds a new life after a tragic accident. His inspiring story next.
The PBS NewsHour, continuing nearly 50 years of unbiased reporting.
The speech sets the foundation for Democrats as they push for voting rights.
The protesters have not yet been moved, basically having their run of the plate.
Covering a broad range of stories.
You've got less rain here now, too, right?
They're running out of water. What's it like on that stage?
There's this magic.
I'm Amna Nawaz.
And I'm Jeff Bennett. Join us every weeknight on the PBS NewsHour.
I'm Chef Mark Tarbell. Welcome to Check Please Arizona. You picked this place. Tell us why.
It was just so cozy.
Anything you order there is going to be phenomenal.
I had the meatballs.
Garlicky in the absolute best way.
They were amazeballs. I was that person that went up to the salsa bar 4 times.
Not what I was expecting.
Join me for the 10th season of Check Please Arizona. I'm getting hungry.
My heart is racing right now.
Fasten your seatbelt.
You're uncovering the truth.
These are consequential things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at everybody.
I feel the presence of all these people.
I've got history.
I wish my mom could be here to see this.
Amazing.
It's like the most vital stuff, right?
Tuesdays on Arizona PBS.
Welcome back to Cronkite Sports Report. A Division I athlete endured a life-threatening accident just a couple years ago.
Despite the hardships, this athlete found his way back in the game, as he tells Cronkite Sports reporter Nikki Pica.
I tell people all the time, man, I'm not a glass half full or glass half empty person. I'm just glad that I have a glass. My name is Hunter Pinky. I'm originally from Wishick, North Dakota. Graduated from the University of North Dakota in 2021 and am now a Master of Architecture student here at the University of Arizona. So I was a undergrad student at the University of North Dakota. That's where I'm from. I'm a North Dakota kid. I'm a Class B kid. North Dakota people know what that means, but really what it means is I'm a small town kid. I came from a town of 1,000. I had 18 in my graduating class. And so playing Division I football for my home state, that was a really big honor for me. So I always thought I was going to be a basketball player. My grandpa is my biggest role model. He's still, to this day, probably my best friend. And so I just wanted to be like him growing up. I wanted to play basketball. And so I set my mind to it. 5th grade, I made the decision that I was going to play Division I basketball. And so going into my senior year, I was the number 2 rated player in the state, getting recruited by all the Division I schools in the area. And my best friend at the time, Zach Kavalvog, he was the point guard on my AAU basketball team. He passed away in a car accident, June 23rd, 2015. And from that moment on, I just didn't want to play basketball anymore. If I was going to play basketball, I wanted to play with Zach, and Zach wasn't there anymore, so I didn't want to play. And so I hung up my shoes and picked up some cleats and decided to play college football instead. I went on a ski trip after our season concluded in 2019, and that's where everything changed.
I knew something bad had happened because Hunter had just called me before the first run of the day. He had FaceTimed me, and then like 45 minutes later, Tracy Wanzik was calling me. So I just knew that at that moment, something was going to change.
I was in a ski accident that left me paralyzed from the chest down. I'm a complete spinal cord injury, which means that I have no feeling or function below my injury level, which is at T4. So now I am here at the University of Arizona, pursuing a master's degree and also doing some adaptive athletics.
When you meet Hunter, you probably would think he's been in a wheelchair all his life. It's almost like it's nothing new for him because he's just so. Whenever you see Hunter, there's always going to be a smile on his face.
It's just really full circle that the sport that he started with as a 4-year-old is something he still gets to do now at age 25 in a chair.
I was on a skiing trip with one of my football buddies. I wouldn't have played football, I wouldn't have met him, I wouldn't have been on that ski trip, I wouldn't have been there in the first place, but at the same time, you go head first into the tree, and my football instinct to tuck my head, lower my shoulder, put my neck at the exact right angle so that the stress transferred through my neck and broke my middle back. So it's like I was meant to be in that moment, and that for me is kind of reassuring that like there's a purpose behind it. I can handle being in a wheelchair. It's not that big of a deal to me. Like something new, new challenges. But like, what if it's not about me? What if it's like me being in this wheelchair has an effect on this person, and that person has an effect, and then the chain, and it just keeps rolling of what if it's not all about me? And so if you can kind of grasp that, and I think I have, then the situation becomes a lot easier to deal with. Questions that I still think about is like, will I ever get the chance to go down on one knee? Will I ever get the chance to walk my daughter down the aisle? Am I gonna have a daughter? Those are questions that I'm like, oh man, I don't know the answer to. And that's where you kind of have to fall back on, faith and more of living the moment, I think, because you start worrying about that stuff, and that's a slippery slope. So I guess if I were to tell people one thing about life that I think I've been able to experience is that you're still here. And people are like, well, I don't want to be here. I don't want to live. I got nothing to live for. You're wrong. You do. You just haven't found it yet.
Pinky's path might be a little different than he imagined, but he has such a great attitude.
Pinky continues to tell his story in hopes of inspiring others. That's all for this episode of Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Jacob Flores.
And I'm Lindsay Selzer. On behalf of everyone involved, thank you for tuning in.